A janitor handed the CEO a napkin. What she read stopped a $1 billion meeting and changed thousands of lives. Like, share and subscribe to The Kind World for more stories that touch the heart. Everyone in the room held their breath as Alina Moore, the brilliant yet feared billionaire tech CEO, prepared to speak. The boardroom, perched high on the 50th floor, gleamed with sunlight and steel. Men in tailored suits and women in sleek dresses sat around the long polished table ready for her announcement. Alina was moments away from approving a massive corporate restructuring, one that would mean shutting down facilities, cutting jobs, and automating operations across the country. Profits would soar, investors would cheer, but thousands of lives would quietly collapse in the shadows. No one expected the janitor in the corner to move. He had been invisible to them all morning, mopping floors, clearing trash, staying silent. But just as Alina took a breath to speak, he walked forward without saying a word and handed her a folded napkin. Confused, she stared at him. He nodded once and turned away. Alina frowned, ready to dismiss it as nonsense or maybe even a prank. She glanced at the napkin. Crayon marks. She nearly crumpled it until something about the handwriting stopped her. She opened it slowly, and what she read made her pulse freeze. In shaky, childlike letters. The napkin read, Hi Miss Alina, I heard you make things fly. My daddy says you can make hope fly too. He says you forgot your wings, but I believe in you, love, Lily, age 8. Alina's hands trembled. A lump rose in her throat, uninvited and unfamiliar. The boardroom fell into silence. Everyone was watching her, but she wasn't in that room anymore. She was back in her childhood, hungry, scared, dreaming through the cracks in a broken ceiling. She remembered the girl she used to be, the one who believed in kindness, in dreams, in second chances. She looked up, her eyes scanning the room until they landed on the janitor. He had returned to his corner, quietly picking up a forgotten coffee cup. She suddenly saw him, not the uniform, but the man, his eyes, tired yet steady, and then she saw something else, herself, reflected in him. Her empire was born from struggle, built by a girl who had nothing but hope. But somewhere along the way, she had traded that hope for power. Alina slowly set the napkin down. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was different, softer, human. This meeting is over, she said, to the confusion of her executives. We're not shutting anything down. Then she stood up and walked out, not as a CEO but as someone who had just been reminded what really mattered. Later that day, she found the janitor again. His name was David, a single dad, widowed, working night shifts to pay for his daughter Lily's leukemia treatment. Lily, who still believed in magic, who believed in her. Alina couldn't sleep that night. She kept staring at the napkin on her desk, at those simple words written in crayon, and by morning, she had made a decision. She launched a new initiative called Project Wings, a foundation dedicated to helping children with life-threatening illnesses and supporting the families who care for them. David was hired as its first program director. Lily received full medical support, and more than that, she gained a friend in Alina. A year later, Lily, healthy and smiling, cut the ribbon at the opening of the first Project Wings Children's Center. Alina stood beside her, no longer the cold, unreachable billionaire, but someone transformed by a child's hope and a father's quiet courage. And all it took was a napkin. So if this story touched you, let it remind you that even the smallest acts, especially the silent ones, can shake the tallest towers. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to The Kind World for more powerful stories that prove kindness can change everything. David Callan lived in the quiet corners of tall buildings, the kind of spaces most people passed without seeing. Every night, while the city buzzed in luxury and neon, David swept its shadows, and every morning he returned to a modest janitor's room tucked behind steel doors and humming machines, where his daughter Lily waited with sleepy eyes and a brave smile. David was a single dad, a widower. Life hadn't been kind to him, but he never complained. His entire world fit into 2 small lunchboxes, 1 mop bucket, and a little girl fighting for her life. Lily was 8, her head wrapped in a colorful scarf to hide what cancer had taken. Yet she smiled wider than most people who had everything. Each morning, while David folded his uniform and packed his worn work gloves, Lily would sit in the corner drawing on scraps of paper, napkins, cardboard, anything she could find. Her drawings weren't just pictures. They were dreams. And every time Alina Moore appeared on the news unveiling new drones, speaking at tech conferences, saving companies with her genius. Lily would light up. She'd say, "Dad, she's the lady with the flying robots, I bet. She could fly me to the moon." Then, more quietly, "I wish she knew me." David would smile, but it ached inside. How do you explain to your child that people like Alina Moore never see people like them? That morning was colder than most. The heater in the building's basement barely worked. David wrapped Lily's blanket tighter around her and placed a thermos of warm tea beside her crayons. As he turned to head upstairs, Lily called softly, "Wait." She held out a folded napkin. On it, a few shaky words were scrawled in purple crayon, surrounded by little stars and hearts. "Give this to her," she said. "Maybe it'll make her smile." David hesitated. He looked at the napkin, then at his daughter's hopeful eyes. Billionaires didn't read napkins from janitors. But something about the way Lily looked at him, so full of faith, made him take it. He nodded slowly. "Okay, Lily, I'll try." As he slipped a napkin into his pocket and walked toward the elevator. He didn't know what would happen, but for once, he let her hope guide him, not the fear of being ignored. And on that day, inside a room filled with power, numbers, and noise, Lily's quiet little message would speak louder than any of them. Alina unfolded the napkin slowly, almost distractedly at first, just a reflex, like brushing away a smudge on glass. But the moment her eyes met the words scrawled in bright purple crayon, something shifted in her. The confident tilt of her shoulders faltered, her breath caught mid-chest. The words were simple, even a little messy, but they pierced straight through the layers of power and pride she'd built over the years. Greater than Hi Miss Elena. I heard you make things fly. My daddy says you can make hope fly too. He says you forgot your wings, but I believe in you. Love, Lily, age 8. The boardroom, which moments before had buzzed with the hum of laptops and the click of expensive pens, now fell into absolute silence. The men in suits exchanged confused glances. No one dared speak. They saw the napkin in Elena's hand but couldn't see what was written. All they saw was her face, slowly unraveling from cold precision to something they'd never seen before, vulnerability. Her eyes scanned the room until they found him, David, the janitor, standing near the door, head lowered out of instinct, as if ready to apologize for existing. But when their eyes met, neither of them blinked. Alina stared, not at the man, but through him. She saw something that pulled her into a memory buried so deep she'd nearly forgotten. A young girl, sitting on a threadbare mattress, sketching rocket ships on the back of bills they couldn't pay. A mother coughing in the other room. A father who had left without saying goodbye. All she had back then was a dream, and the belief that maybe, just maybe, she could make something that soared. But somewhere between that girl and the woman she became, she had lost her wings. Now, this little girl, Lily, had reminded her, not with business pitches or viral campaigns, but with a napkin. With hope. The people in the room waited for her to say something, to get back to numbers, to margins, to the announcement, but Alina couldn't speak. The weight of that simple message pressed down on her like nothing ever had. Not loss, not failure, not even success. She gently folded the napkin again, like it was made of glass, and set it on the table. Her hands were trembling. Then, standing straighter, her voice steady but changed. She looked at her team and said only 6 words. This meeting is over, for now. Gasps rippled across the room. One executive dropped his pen. Another opened his mouth to object, but stopped when he saw the look in Elena's eyes, not weakness, but a kind of strength they didn't recognize. She walked out without another word, and for the first time in years, Alina Moore didn't feel like a CEO trying to win the world. She felt like a woman trying to find her wings again. The sun was melting into the skyline, casting gold across the rooftop garden that few employees even knew existed. Alina stood at the edge, no longer wrapped in her usual armor of power and poise. Her sharp blazer was gone. In its place a simple sweater and eyes that had seen something far greater than profit that day. She waited, unsure of what she would say until the moment arrived. Then the elevator doors opened. David stepped out first, gently guiding Lily by the hand. She wore a knitted cap and oversized sweater, her cheeks pale but her smile alive with curiosity. Her eyes widened as she saw the city from above, skyscrapers like toy blocks, cars like ants below. Elena walked toward them slowly, almost nervously, like a student approaching a teacher. And in a way, that's exactly how she felt. Asterisk without saying anything. She bent down and took Lily's hand in hers. For a moment, no one spoke. The silence was soft sacred. Asterisk then Elena whispered, "You reminded me of who I was, and who I want to be again." Asterisk Lily blinked. "I did." Asterisk Elena nodded. "You believe in people's wings, Lily. Today you gave me mine back." Asterisk David looked away, trying to hide the emotion rising in his eyes. He had spent years in corners, in shadows, believing that people like Elena Moore lived in a world above his. But now, here they all were, not above, not below, together. Asterisk, that very week Elena made a decision the board could never have anticipated. She halted expansion plans, paused aggressive tech rollouts, and poured her resources into something deeply human. She called it Project Wings. It was more than a foundation, it was a promise. A mission to fund treatment for children battling critical illnesses, to provide access to education in technology and innovation, to give them not only care but a future. Asterisk Elena didn't just write a check. She showed up asterisk, and when it came time to appoint someone to lead the effort, she didn't pick an executive or a consultant. She picked David, because he knew what it meant to fight quietly, to hope fiercely, to raise a warrior. Asterisk and Lily. She received the best care money could buy from specialists, from scientists, from every corner of the network Elena had once reserved for her elite world. But more than that, she gained a best friend. In Elena. Asterisk their bond wasn't built on titles or charity, it was built on belief. The belief that hope is not a luxury, it's a lifeline. Asterisk, and it can start with something as small as a napkin. Asterisk and a girl who reminded a billionaire how to fly again. Asterisk, a soft breeze danced through the crowd gathered outside the brand new Project Wings Children's Center. Balloons fluttered, camera shutters clicked, but all eyes were on a little girl in a sky blue dress, her face glowing with health and quiet wonder. Asterisk, Lily, stood between two people who had once lived in completely different worlds, her father, David, still wearing his humble smile, and Elena Moore, no longer just a tech mogul, but something far more powerful. A woman who had remembered her heart. Asterisk the ribbon stretched across the entrance, bright and red, waiting to be cut. A year ago, Lily had been too weak to stand for long, her tiny body fighting a disease most children should never have to know. But now stronger, brighter, braver, she clutched a giant pair of scissors with both hands. A little nervous, a little excited. Asterisk Elena knelt beside her and whispered, "You ready, Wings?" Asterisk Lily nodded with a grin. "Let's make hope fly." And with one snip, the ribbon fell. Cheers erupted. Reporters asked questions. But the real story wasn't in the headlines that would follow, it was in the journey that led here. One napkin, one quiet janitor, one brave little girl. That napkin didn't just interrupt a meeting. It cracked open a heart that had been closed for too long. It rewrote the path of a CEO, gave purpose to a father who had nearly lost everything, and sparked a movement that would go on to change thousands of lives. Asterisk inside the new center, children laughed in learning labs. Others napped in cozy reading corners. Walls were covered in drawings of wings, some done by Lily herself. The world Elena had once built on code and commerce had found its soul again, not in profits, but in people. Asterisk, because sometimes, the most powerful messages aren't delivered through speeches or strategy. Asterisk, sometimes, the loudest words are written in silence. And in that silence, a seed of hope can grow into something extraordinary. Asterisk, if this story moved your heart, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to The Kind World. Let's keep spreading kindness, one story at a time. Asterisk.